back with another episode of Exposed in the Martial Arts. Joining me today, I've got Michael South. He's the instructor of the GMAU Krav Maga program. Curtis Taylor. He's actually one of his students and also instructor at his school here in Oklahoma City. And we've got a special topic. We're talking about, does size matter in self-defense? Of course, we talk about Krav Maga a lot as a special and particular style that we train in, but obviously any type of self-defense. And this was kind of spurred on by a video that, Michael, what was it again?
So basically, there was a video shared. There's been a couple of videos that have been shared recently, but it's about these like the defenses that every woman should know or something like that. And we were just talking before we started filming, and I was just like astounded that how many people in the comments. I shouldn't read the comments, but so many people in the comments, like the common denominator of the whole thread of comments was like, at the end of the day, a woman could never defend themselves against a man. And
yeah.
we were just like, what?
Absolutely startling and totally defeating to any woman that would have read those comments.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, why do I do martial arts then if they're actually believing that? But that opens up the topic of size and strength, because it's not just the fact that they're females, it's the fact that they're talking about their size and their strength, their abilities, their upper body, or whatever it may be, I'm guessing. But we're smaller guys, we're martial artists, so we kind of wanted to talk about, and you guys can chime in here, how does being smaller affect you being an excellent martial artist, really being able to do self-defenses properly at a smaller size? Like, how does that affect you?
Do you want to jump
Curtis,
in?
you want to chime in?
Yeah, just in general, I feel, using distance and using proper techniques, leverage, things like that, as opposed to just trying to use muscle, I mean, if you try to use muscle versus muscle, a big guy versus a small lady, of course, I mean, that's going to be a huge difference. But if you use distance, hit vital areas, things like that, that's really going to help you out, and situational awareness, just watching your surroundings and not letting that person just full strength grab you, pick you up, and you try to defend yourself from there,
I mean, that's definitely one of the things that led me to Krav Maga in the first place, I think, is that, it just conceptually makes a lot more sense than in my opinion, pretty much anything else for real life self-defense. But, like Curtis is saying, it's just obvious, if it's strength against strength, then the guy with more strength wins, regardless of gender. It obviously doesn't matter, whoever's stronger wins. But with proper technique and understanding of leverage, you absolutely, I think that's one of the things that we want to make clear. Like, this may be the only time in my life I'm the biggest guy in the room, but we're all fairly small guys, and I'm 160 pounds, and I'm bigger than these guys. What do you get? Like 140? 145. I mean, so we're obviously not big, so we've never sloppily gone through a technique in our life using superior strength to muscle through something. That's obviously not been any of our three experiences. And so, I mean, that's certainly a huge thing that we, from our perspective as instructors, we want everybody to know that I don't care how small you are, you absolutely can learn to defend yourself. Like, we, as instructors, we that's one thing that I want to make sure everybody knows. You absolutely can. You can learn. Yeah.
I think you see a lot of Krav instructors who are bigger guys, bulkier. Obviously, people are born with different sized bodies and have different types of training, but and they have a lot of blunt combatives. They're just saying balls to the wall combatives right after you get out of the attack, and it doesn't even exactly matter where you're hit to and those sort of things. But those things, that might work if you're incredibly strong and you're hitting a general area. But if you're much smaller, you're going to have to be much more finite in your technical capabilities. Now, talking about women, though, speaking towards that initial video, what are some pros? Obviously, everyone has pros and cons. What do you think are some pros that women have, though, that maybe men or even larger guys wouldn't have in a self-defense situation?
That's a good question. Stamina, definitely toughness. My wife is so much tougher than I am. That's something that I can't deny at all. I think if anything, being a smaller guy or a woman, I think that one advantage that you might have is knowing that you need to do everything correctly. Like, I know when I'm learning a new technique or when I'm refining something, I know 100% for sure, I need to understand all the details of it and how to do things like from a structural perspective, and not just relying completely on overpowering somebody with whatever. Like you know, you need to understand the leverage more. So maybe because they know that they might be at a disadvantage from that perspective, maybe they know how they need to train around it. Maybe that would be an advantage. I don't know.
Yeah, it possibly could be, and just obviously having to be more aware, because growing up maybe smaller and everything than other kids even, or as you go through school, there always could have been people that get bullied more because of their size, so they had to create an awareness at a younger age, and rather than just being okay getting picked with fights constantly, you have to be more aware of your surroundings, more aware. We talk about weapon defenses, either going 100% in or 100% out, being more aware of being able to go 100% out when possible, not having to get into those conflicts, and using your words, your most powerful weapon, of course, which is something that a lot of times conflict resolution isn't totally discussed in martial arts classes. I don't think. A lot of times it's like, okay, if they get this close to you, you do have to engage. Well, obviously, psychological weapons, talking, these things are step one.
Absolutely.
Why would you jump straight into having to use a defense when you could have already mitigated it by using a level-headed personality?
That's another
psychological
benefit.
Tools.
Yeah, what you just said, that's another benefit too of being a smaller person, is you don't have any false sense of security.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm like 6'8", I might think like, oh well, I can just push somebody over and I'm going to be fine. You know, but with us,
bully, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we know like we're going to be way aware of things, so we know that we don't have any false pretenses that we can just beat everybody up. So maybe we'll be a little bit more aware of our surroundings, avoid things preemptively, and then we know that if we do have to defend ourselves, it needs to be 100,000% in or out, like, and we don't have any, you know, we don't think like we can just bully our way through something. So yeah, that might be another benefit as well.
Yeah, you can't tango with it. You've got to go in or out if it's
Yeah.
happening, and that's why really precise technical practice is so important. And in training, obviously, principles, foundations, all angles possible, and just realistic training, regardless of whatever style you do. It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But actually doing it right, like it would actually happen in real life, it's just a general thing you've got to do. But anything else you guys want to add? Maybe words for other women or smaller guys out there that could be watching this to keep in mind while they're training, while they're practicing with their partners, while they're in class, something that would give them not an edge, but a little bit of encouragement that they know, because if they're a brand new martial artist, like, yeah, I mean, I feel kind of inferior to all these other guys I'm sparring against right now. They're totally taking me down, taking me out. I'm so much weaker than them. They've got massive reach, etc. Anything you'd want to encourage them, since you guys have been in martial arts so long and they're just kind of starting out on this journey?
Yeah, just be okay with working with the bigger guys. In my classes, I always rotate people around because I see the person that they gravitate to is their same size or smaller. Yeah. But whenever I start mixing them, you know, a guy with a girl and things like that, you know, after they get used to it, I think they're okay with it. So you talk about comparing that to self-defense, you know, now you're not going to be like, I'm done, he's bigger than me. And to kind of mix in the things that we were talking about earlier, you know, for the smaller person, I like to teach a lot of the 2-on-1 things, you know, 2 hands versus one of theirs, as opposed to just strength versus strength with 1 hand. You know, you could use 2 hands, use your strikes, and like Mr. South says a lot, any attack from the front, you know, you should already be defending before they get to you. Use your defensive strikes, defensive kicks, everything like that, and not let the person just attack you. You know, keep your head out of your phone and everything like that. You know.
Yes, situational awareness. Just to expand on that point a little bit, like when he said, be okay with working with the big guy in class. First of all, be okay with training. I mean, just again, to reiterate, I don't care how small you are or what gender you are, you can absolutely learn to defend yourself. And so be okay with training, like do something. But I think kind of what he was touching on was have confidence. You know, when I first started sparring when I was a kid, man, I got beat up a lot. I mean, I hated sparring because I didn't like getting punched in the face all the time. And it was a thing that I had. I loved class. I loved talking about the techniques and practicing the kicks. But when it came time to spar, I was not about that. And then finally, the only way I overcame it was I just chose to like start believing in myself and believing that I could get good at it. And then I eventually did. But it wasn't until I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna I'm gonna meet it head on and get good at it. So like having the confidence to jump in there and just do it is a huge thing. And then one more thing that I wanted to add is to just be realistic. Like I don't want to start a conversation or a debate about, you know, which art is better for self-defense and which art is better for whatever, but like when you're training, if your goal is to defend yourself, then just constantly be examining the drills that you're doing and the techniques that you're practicing, and just asking yourself honestly, like be honest with yourself and with your training partners, like is it realistic? Is this guy that's bigger than you, that with the drill, are you really moving him over, or is he obviously, you know, acting and playing along with you? Because I mean, I think it's super counterproductive and just a huge waste of time to just do all these make-believe stuff where guys are flipping over and you know, they're going whoa, and they got, you know.
You got to ask your partner to literally use their weight, use their strength.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, then you've got to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to make an adjustment just due to your size and strength, and that's what we're talking about.
I can't stress that enough.
Because
It's
if
important.
you never do that in practice, then you're not going to figure it out until it's too late, basically. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we had a good chat. I hope you guys got something out of this, and definitely just want to encourage everyone, of course, keep training hard, go after it, find what works for your body type, your body style. Everyone's different, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Nailed it.
All right.
Cut those high fives out.